Okay, so it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Joe Powell, founder and president of Powell Insurance Services, the Lea Club, the Riva Restaurant, and recently Riva. And I've sampled a few items at your restaurants I got to share. Joe's bio is in your package, and back in the spring I heard Joe speak at the Thousand Islands Community Development Corporation AGM. His words definitely made an impression and inspired me to think a little different. And the opportunity to have him here today is very exciting. Please join me in welcoming Joe Powell.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am not a professional developer, and I'm going to speak to you today as a citizen of the area, and try to outline, what we've done as a family, why we've done it, what our objectives are, and it's all about pride. So, my friends, when I started to, first of all, I should say, born in Montreal, grew up in Toronto. Cottage has always been the mainstay. I'm 62. I've spent 61 summers on the river, and I love the river. And I got tired of people talking about Eastern Ontario being a depressed economy. And everyone in Toronto goes north. They go to Georgian Bay, they go to Muskoka, and I suppose I have a bit of a competitive bone in my body. And those things bothered me because, again, Gananoque, for example, hadn't changed. It hadn't changed in 50 years. In fact, it was probably more vibrant. Sandy's in the back, and Sandy and I spent time on the river years ago. It was probably more vibrant 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago than it was, in the most recent decades. So I look at it as a world-class canvas, and that's what's on the outline today, and that's sort of the premise of my motivation. Wherever I travel, anywhere in the world, I haven't found a more beautiful place than the river, than the Thousand Islands. So the objective I've got is, so what are we trying to do, why are we doing it, and how are we doing it? So what I'm trying to do is to raise awareness to the area. That was my objective. And why I wanted to do it, because I want the area to succeed and prosper. And how I'm doing it, because it's not my main business, I'm doing it at a grassroots level. I'm trying to instill pride of ownership, pride of the region, and to make people aware of what they're sitting on. It's like a world-class venue. We were in Italy 2 years ago on the Amalfi Coast, and up and down, and for those of you who've been there, it is beautiful. I made the mistake of going the second week of July, and all I kept thinking of is I'd rather be on the river, and because no matter where I go, there's not a place that has better natural infrastructure than the beauty of the islands and the river and the freshwater boating. It's phenomenal, but there is really no infrastructure. It's a problem, and why has it been depressed, and how long has it been depressed, and how much longer will it be slow to recover? Now, yes, maybe it's sort of the furthest distance from Toronto and Montreal, and maybe, Niagara-on-the-Lake, and then the Prince Edward County, and all these places that are closer have prospered earlier, and maybe we're the last frontier, but it is only 2.5 hours from Toronto with no traffic. I'll talk about Toronto in a minute, because you have to know how people really live there. You're in and out, but when you really live there, it's interesting, and it's changed so much in the last even 5 years. It's on an exponential curve with the building and all the things going on there. It's quite different. So I think we're in a paradise here. The whole region is a paradise, and to me, when things start, any area starts. New York City, if you look at New York City, years ago in the meatpacking district, it was dilapidated, kind of like St. Clair and Keele in Toronto. And what did they do? They put restaurants in. Yorkville, years ago in the 50s, 60s, was kind of a biker haven, like Delray Beach in Florida, Atlantic Avenue in Florida, and Delray. If you go there now, everybody from Palm Beach goes to Delray, because Palm Beach, they roll up the sidewalks at like 9 o'clock. But in Delray, it's all happening, and it was like a biker's place. So it starts with restaurants. So we started with the Ivy. And our children are a little older, and I said to Lucy, my wife, what I'd like to do, if you give me a bit of time, I'm going to go in and we're going to try to set an example and to do things that'll be nice here. And I think all my friends thought I was crazy because I'm a Queen's business graduate. Both my daughters are. They're finance people. Dad, like, what's the IRR going to be here? I've talked about this before. What's the exit strategy? And I said, well, sometimes it's not always about that. Like sometimes it doesn't always have to be about, like, I'm not trying to lose a lot of money, but it's not about, if I wanted to maximize, I wouldn't be doing it here. So I'm doing it here for a want, not a need. It's, there's not a rational reason people would start, it's a lot of Caesar salads to pay for the docks, but over time, we're well capitalized. I heard the finance story about cash is king earlier, and you have to think in terms of decades, not quarters. So I'm looking long term at the area. I know the area is going to be successful. To me, it's like crystal clear. It's crystal clear. It's like the most beautiful area around. If anybody's gone to Muskoka, it's overbuilt, it's overcrowded. There's no university town there. There's no hospital. It's not on the 401. It's not on the train station. It's not near big cities. You can't be in Ottawa in an hour or Montreal in 2 hours or all that stuff. You're not on the border near the U.S. You don't have all that flavor. It's got everything here, but we just need infrastructure. So we start with a restaurant. So it's interesting, no advertising, no marketing, none of that. Build a place, know nothing about restaurants. First thing people say to me is, well, how do you know there's a demand? And I said, well, I'm actually not sure, but I think it's going to work. And so there is, like any entrepreneurial venture, this leap of faith where you can't steal second with your foot on first. Like you have to make a move and go for it and try something. So I thought it would be pretty easy, actually. I thought, because I knew a bunch of people in the area that were in restaurants, and I called them and said, I got this great opportunity. I think I started with the guys that own Smugglers or running Smugglers and said, look, you guys are running that. You got the infrastructure, you got all the staff. Why don't you come down? You can run this. It'll be great. And, to control the Canadian side, and it'll be, there's going to, oh, Joe, we're too busy. We can't get the staff ourselves. And I talked to somebody else, Jacques O'Shea, who runs the Trinity House, I went to high school with. And I said, Jacques, you come down and help me do this this venture. We can do it together. We've known each other since grade 9. This will be like fantastic. Oh, Joe, you'll never get past the health department. The place is a mess, and all that stuff. So there are always all these reasons why it would never work. And it took about 6 or 7 times until I finally got a referral through a friend to Rob Gobo, who's our executive chef now. And Rob was working at the Lord Elgin in Ottawa. I was at a conference there, met him, went in and had dinner, prearranged, and I thought, oh, he can cook pretty well. This is good. I took him down. I said, Rob, you want to come and see? He said, sure, I'll come down. He came in. He looked through the old captain's table, the room with the view, and it was rustic, let's say. And he looked at it. It's quite interesting, because this was 9 years ago. He looked at it like I looked at it. He looked at it and said, wow, this is like amazing. Like, what a location. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. So he came down with his brother the next week. We sort of shook on a deal that he would run the place and I'd pay the overhead, and we started that way, And 9 years later, it's worked, and he now employs 90 people between the two restaurants. He has servers and wait staff, and he was in Toronto with me this week on Wednesday to meet with George Brown College that have a huge program, apprenticeship program, and they want to partner with us and send people down, sommeliers and staff and so on internship basis. And it's interesting, and they approached us. They're close, and their people are looking for places to go and to work and to be studied. And Rob's amazing. He's been, we've had him in 4 or 5 different resort areas in the past in the off season. He's been in New York City working with Danielle Ballou. He's been in Vail, Colorado at Sweet Basil's. He's been all sorts of different restaurants just practicing and working on his trade. And we have this acronym that's similar to what was spoken earlier, CANI, C-A-N-I, that stands for constant and never-ending improvement. And so, no matter what we're doing, we just want to make it better. We want to make it like the best. So when I eat there, this is a plug, but I love the food. Like, I eat there and I think, wow, this is like better than Centro's, better than North 44. We were at a dinner that one of the banks put on about 2 weeks ago in Toronto with a French chef named Alain Ducasse, who's got 21 Michelin star restaurants and world-renowned. And he was doing a joint venture actually with George Brown, which is how we met together. And we had this meal, and I said, it's good, but Rob's just as good. Like, it's, so you have to have good people. You have to have good people. And I don't really do that much. We have a bit of an idea of what it can be, but we've got like great people there that do everything. Tim Lanigan runs the marina for us. He knows everything about boats. When it's really windy and the guys have to bring their boats in, they often call Tim to drive their boats because he could drive them better than they could, And we have really great maintenance people. I've got to know not all, but a lot of the businesses, because we try to use all the local trades. So, Canarm, 401 Electric, Newterra, these are like world-class businesses. And I think they're so smart because they've figured out already what most people haven't, that this is a bit of a paradise. And, my dad passed away 2 years ago. He loved the river as well, but just before he retired, he was chairman of Lake Ontario Cement. So they had a big public company with offices all over, but he always said to us, the people with the best jobs are the ones with the big companies that have job security or smaller, but they're in a smaller community because they have a better lifestyle. Last night, talking about Toronto for a minute, I've got some notes, but I'm going to ramble a little bit. Last night, our office is in Yonge Street in Toronto, in Rosedale, just north of Bloor Street, right across from the Rosedale subway station. And I live near Lawrence and Bayview. And that's about 6 miles. So it's, normally if I get up 10 minutes, you're at work. But in the last 4 or 5 years, there's so much construction going on that it's just busy all the time. So to give you an idea of Toronto living, and there was no snowstorm last night, and the roads were dry, I left my office at 5:10, which is early for me, and I got home at about 6:10. So I went 5-6 miles in 1 hour. Like, it's crazy. I had to be in on Tuesday in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and it's close to Buffalo, not right in the snow belt, but there was a bunch of snow over there. And coming back, I left Niagara-on-the-Lake at 5:30. So it's about an hour and 15 minutes normally the drive. 5 hours. 5 hours. No accidents. Like, it's just, you came off the QEW, went over the Skyway Bridge, got on the QE to go into Toronto. It started at Burlington, Oakville, Mississauga. It's just like bumper to bumper. Like, that's what people are living. You don't have that. People say to me, Gananoque, it's like far. So are you kidding me? Like, it's 15, 20 minutes from Kingston. Like, that's the neighborhood in Toronto. That's a couple of blocks away. It's really, it's amazing. And then what's your housing costs? Housing costs are, they're affordable. And, you've got great schools, and you've got a great, sense of community living. And then in the summer, you've got this amazing backdrop. And in the winter, you can cross-country ski, and, anyway, all that. So, but others don't know it. So we started with that. And I'd always wondered if what we had done at the Ivy would have had a bigger impact if it had been a little bit more urban, if we'd done something more in Gananoque than 5 miles outside of a town. And so that's why we did the Golden Apple. I grew up, summering at the Golden Apple and all that, and it was getting a little bit tired. When it came for sale, I thought, if I do this one more time, and it's in an urban center, I think it's going to be really good. Again, just, gut instinct, and the community has really embraced that. It's been absolutely amazing. Like, it's packed on weekends, and we've never advertised. Food is great, but it's kind of like Starbucks has done. They've like, you can buy a cup of coffee anywhere, but they've created this brand and this marketing piece that it's almost like you're home away from home. Like, if you're, away, you go into a Starbucks, you kind of get the chairs, you get the music, and you pay a little bit more for the coffee, but it's an experience. And that's like the restaurant. What I've learned about the restaurant business, because I know nothing about, it's not the food. The food's just part of it. It's the whole experience. And so now what we've got in Gananoque, for example, or at the Ivy, we've allowed people to have an experience. And so it makes me, like, I don't know what the IRR is on that when I see people celebrating their Father's Day there, or their birthday there, or a wedding anniversary, or a party, or it's just because before that, we all used to go to the U.S. And then, it wasn't so great, but it was better than what we had on the Canadian side. And now, all our friends on the U.S., they're all coming over to see us. And it's like the people on Wellesley Island and Clayton, and I'm on the U.S., I have been on the U.S. Boat Museum Board for years, so I know a lot of the guys over there, and there's nothing really the same on the U.S. side. So I like that. I think it's this gentrification, if I can use that term, is beginning, and I think we're almost at a tipping point. I have a good friend who's a developer, Joe Brennan, who I saw. Erica's met Joe, and some of the people in the municipality, Brenda Guy and Shelley and so on, have met him. And he came to our cottage a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, and stayed at what we call South Beach, which is a little cottage on the south end of our island, and it's very rustic. I mean, it's open 2x4s, not insulated. And this guy, if you Google him, you see the houses he's built. And he used to say, "Oh, this is beautiful here." And I said to Lucy, "Oh, he's just being very patronizing. I'm sure it's, And sure enough, he said, "No, I've traveled. This is an amazing area." He ends up buying an island. Bought Shanty Island just south of Grenadier, fixed it all up. It's going to be in all the magazines, I'm sure. It's amazing. But he loves the area, and he's been everywhere and could go everywhere. I think all of his friends, when he said, "I'm going to buy buying the Thousand Islands," at Toronto, where is that? What's there? He said, "Well, you got to come." So he's been bringing his friends on the weekends, and they come and they go "I can't believe this. How come I didn't know about it?" And I think last summer he had 50 or 60 people through the summer, and they all said the same thing. So it's amazing. But people want to go places, and when they get there, they want to do stuff. So, my theory is waiting for Goodyear to come may not happen for a while. The big plants may not happen. That tax base has kind of been lost for a whole bunch of reasons. It may come back, but it's been lost. Maybe it's labor costs, maybe it's whatever, but it shouldn't, because of where we are. There should be. But my theory's always been, if I brought Lucy, my wife, or you brought your spouse, husband or wife, into a town and drove through, you want them to like it. Guess what, honey? We're moving here. Oh, But if they drive in and there's a great restaurant and there's a live theater and there's a museum and people take pride and ownership, you go into the Laurentians, to Saint Jovite, and some of these small towns, everybody paints their house, they all cut the grass, they've got flowers out, and it's just pride of ownership. And you can feel it in these communities, and that's what we want to instill. I love the flowers at the Ivy. Does it make sense to have them? What's the matter? No, but it's good and it works, and it's just, it's beyond sometimes rational, logical thinking. It's thinking a little bit outside the box and making things nice, because I think that's how we're going to create demand. I think people are going to come and say, "Wow, this is an amazing area. I'd like to be here more." "Susie, how long have you been here?" "I've been here a long time." "Well, why didn't you tell me about it?" "Well, you didn't ask." So you don't want too much. Because I hear that too as I get older. "Oh, you don't want it to be like Toronto." No, but you want to have stuff to do when you're here. Like Dave and Jane Seal did the golf course, Smugglers Run, which is like a world-class golf course. I'm not a great golfer, but I've been on a lot of different golf courses, and it's really fantastic. And for the CPGA to play there a year or so ago is a testament to the quality that it is. So we're so lucky to have that in the area. And I can go on and on about the natural beauty, the location, everything is sitting there. We just have to attract people. So I think the restaurants have been fun. It's starting. There was, and I didn't do this for any recognition, which is always it's a big surprise. So I didn't even think of any of that. I just did it because I thought it was the right thing to do. But what's been amazing to me is how people have recognized that there's been change in the area, and they like that. I think we all appreciate nice things, and I think everything we're doing, we're trying to do, for the right reasons to make the area better, so we can all have more fun here. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to get service businesses come in. You're going to get people that own businesses that could be anywhere. They can be tech business. They could be anywhere. But why wouldn't they want to live in a community like this, where they've got better lifestyle, getting back to there's cranes everywhere in Toronto. I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on, and it's busy and it's expensive. And it's hard for young children, for people, young adults to get ahead there. You want to golf, you got to join a private club, there's maybe a waiting list, everything's private and expensive. So it's, there's huge lifestyle benefits to living, in this area. And what often happens is when you have awareness that's generated, whether it's through the restaurant, just in general, people come and boat here. They go like, wow, like where else can you boat like this? You can go to Niagara-on-the-Lake, but you can go to the Bay of Quinte. As soon as you're out, there's just open water. Like there's not, like we're at center ice. In the river, you're at center ice. You've got all these beautiful ins and outs and U.S. flavor and all of that you don't have anywhere else. And that's what we have to take advantage of. That's the natural beauty. No one else can replicate that. You can't replicate that if you're in Listowel. Listowel is nice, but you can't replicate it. You can't, southwestern Ontario, they don't have that. We have, so that's what we should, like, to me it's clear, like you have that, that's what you take advantage of. You market to that. And no one else can replicate that. So once we do that and people understand that, I think it's going to be amazing. You're going to really see, people use the trains to get here. I've talked to Chris McCartney when I was at the airport. I said, Chris, you fix that up. You fix it up a little bit, the guys will be flying in. They'll fly in. They will. We were in Sag Harbor. So Sag Harbor's in the Hamptons. We have friends that from Toronto moved to New York a few years ago. He's living there, a psychiatrist, and he misses Toronto a lot. But he said, well, what we do, we go to the Hamptons on the weekend, and so he bought a country property in the Hamptons. So it sounds great. You go there, and it's beautiful, but it's Howe Island. It's Howe Island. No, it is. It's just big fields, beautiful, nice. Very few people are on the water. They all bike. They ride their bikes a couple of kilometers or whatever to the. But when they go to Sag Harbor, they've got 20 Rivas. They've got tons of restaurants. And what's happened, like happens in all these communities, is once people are there, then the artists come in next. And that's what we need now. We need to get the artists here. We need to get the painters, the sculptors, all of that. When the artists come in, you're usually second, then everybody wants to be there. So that's what we're working on. Darren Dalglish was CAO in the town of Gananoque years ago. He's now with the Parks Commission, but had said to me, if you want to help in Gan, it was 5 years ago, you should help with the Playhouse Theatre because it's struggling. We've got a bank covenant with the town, and I'm going to recommend we don't renew our terms because it's just not going to work. And Eric, you probably remember a lot of this stuff. So we thought, okay, well, we'll have a golf tournament, and we started a golf tournament and raised a whole bunch of money and, paid the bank debt down, and Ashley Corcoran's running the theater, and we're so lucky to have live theater in the region. And lots of people want to support it, but it just takes some momentum to get going. just at our infancy with the boat museum in Canada. It'll be really fantastic. We're just trying to get it organized now. But with Erica's help, we have the property now. We're getting organized. We've got to figure out our collections, and like all these non-for-profits, figure out how to make the math work, because you don't want to rely always on grants and donations. It's tough. But we've got a really good group of people in the community that want to help. And I think it's going to be fantastic, and it'll be another draw for the area. Let me just look quickly and see if I've covered most of what I wanted to say. Socialist Pig in Gananoque is an example. So I don't know who of you know it or don't know it, but if anybody hasn't been to Gananoque to the Socialist Pig, it's a coffee shop. But they started it 4 years ago, maybe about 4 years ago. And it is a little bit of it's the hub in town. So everybody goes here. So now, for example, there's cycling clubs in Kingston. But if you go to the Pig on a Saturday morning at 8:30, they're clearing the track, because the 50 bikes, the guys that come in, they all go there, they all hang out, they have their coffees, then they go on to the next thing. So wouldn't it be great if we had a series of those sort of in the region where people can, because they found it, they found this place, and you say, well, that seems like a little silly little thing, but it isn't. It's the ripple effect. It's how it starts. It's one thing at a time. So we do one thing, someone else will do something else, and it all begins that way, I think. Because the old way hasn't worked. The old way of waiting, to land the big fish. I think we'll build the tax base this way by making people aware of what the area is and having them all want to be here. So Socialist Pig is a good example for me. I talked to build it and they will come. You can study things forever, but sometimes just following your gut instinct is certainly worthwhile. I'm in the private sector, so you don't want to discourage people in the private sector you want to reach out. So those of you in the public sector, I think it's a team effort, and we have to be educated, because a lot of us aren't experts in this as to what to do, how to do it. The community will benefit. Gord's been quite helpful, talking to us about certain things, programs that are out there that for the museum, for example, that may help us, take advantage of some government funding and initiatives to get things started. So the whole idea of, making the community appealing together with both the reach out from the public sector and cooperating and learning together can help us make it great. So, the objective that I've got, again, overall, is to help people, realize how great an area it is, and work together, creating this proud sense of community. And it's again not driven off needs; it's driven off what we want to do. And I think it's been evidenced with the success that we've had with the little ventures that we've started. There's a waiting list to get into Ivy Lee now, and we're putting a fitness center in this winter. It'll be an amazing gym with trainers and massage rooms and all this stuff for the people that are there. And it's unique, but I mean, people like that. They have that in the bigger cities and communities where they're at. But when they come, we have yoga classes, and all the little things make a big difference. So I thank you for the opportunity of allowing me to share what we've done and why we've done it. It's not that sophisticated. It's worked. We've had a lot of fun with it, and I think it's making a difference. So I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has them. And thanks very much, Ann.